Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. If any fighter needed a reminder that you should never take an opponent lightly, they got it on Saturday when Francis Ngannou, the great debutante, put on the greatest of all debutante performances and almost beat Tyson Fury, gave him hell and lost a split decision against heavyweight champion of the world. Anyway, so Joe Cordina should not be overlooking EDWARD VAZQUEZ. Edward VAZQUEZ? Okay. Whatever his name is, surname is Vasquez, whatever it is, however you pronounce it. EDWARD VAZQUEZ, we'll go with that. And Vasquez is coming in as the challenger for Cordina's IBF World Super Featherweight title. Cordina currently 16-0 with 9 KOs, 31 years of age, 5'9", pretty big super feather, and Vasquez 28 years old, so they're both kind of in their prime. Yeah, to be honest with you, not really a super featherweight. Has fought at sort of 128, 27, that sort of thing, but not really a super feather. Between weights, perhaps, but I would describe him more as a featherweight. For those that don't know, Vasquez is 15 wins, only 3 KOs or stoppages, 1 defeat. The defeat was to Raymond Ford back in 2022, so not that long ago. Ford is still undefeated, 14 wins, no defeats and 1 draw. And Vasquez lost a split decision over 10 rounds, and it was, debatable, but Ford is a southpaw, and it looked to me when I watched that fight as if Vasquez was having a bit of trouble with the southpaw style. Although he didn't do too badly, badly, but Ford looked under par and certainly didn't look at his best, as we've seen since then. Over the last year, I think he's put on some better performances. And if you go through Vasquez's record, there aren't that many names on there. I mean, he's won in 2022. Following the Ford defeat, he fought a couple of 8-rounders, and one of those was over a guy who had a 13-1-1 record, and he won a split decision. He also scored a split decision over Misael Lopez. That was early this year in February. And Lopez was 14 wins, 1 defeat. So he's fighting guys who've got good statistical records, but they're kind of B level fighters. And in his last fight, Vasquez beat Brian de Garcia over 10 rounds with a unanimous decision. Garcia was 29 wins, 2 defeats and 1 draw, and he won comfortably. Garcia won a couple of rounds, 2-3 rounds maybe, but Vasquez hasn't really shown. He's good at everything and spectacular at nothing. There's nothing wrong with him. He's a decent fighter, world class, top 12 fighter. But should he be fighting Cordina for the IBF super featherweight title? I have my doubts, to be honest with you. Now Cordina, we know about Cordina. Scored that fantastic win over Kenichi Ogawa, knocked him out in 2 rounds. That was in June of 2022. He then got stripped unfairly, many feel, by the IBF, but fought for his old title against Shavkatdzhon Rakhimov and won a split decision. That was in Cardiff, as was the Ogawa fight. This fight is in, of all places, Monte Carlo, and if you've ever seen fights from Monte Carlo before, you'll know that the atmosphere is very subdued. It's kind of like an ostentatious dinner show, and I think Cordina, certainly from what I've seen a lot of his fights, but he seems to thrive on that pressure cooker atmosphere with having lots of fans, some guys freeze, some fighters can freeze when they're in that environment because they feel the pressure of support and I've got to do well, like David Price, for example. Whereas Cordina seems to thrive on it. And I do sort of wonder if in Monte Carlo he's going to be a bit subdued emotionally, and if he's subdued emotionally, he might not be switched on fully mentally. Sometimes the external forces can get your engine running, and I get the impression that that's the case with Cordina. But you have to make Cordina a stiff favourite in this fight. Like I say, there's no doubt that EDWARD VAZQUEZ does do a lot good. You know, he's a respectable fighter. Don't misunderstand me. I haven't seen as much of him as I've seen of Cordina, probably because I'm English and Cordina is a British fighter. But I have seen Vasquez fight, and yeah, he's a good, solid operator, but he lacks power. And I think to beat Cordina, who is naturally a bigger man, you're going to have power. I think that what we'll probably see is Vasquez coming out. He is quite an industrious fighter, likes to put it on you constantly, fire punches in bunches. He very, very rarely throws single punches. He's an orthodox fighter. Yeah, he jabs, but once he's in close, he's letting both hands go. And I think that actually might suit Cordina, even though Cordina might be a little bit, he might take a 2 or 3 rounds to get his engine running. He just might have a look at Vasquez, and then he'll start to go to work. And I think he'll probably start using what I think his skills are superior. He doesn't fire as many punches as Vasquez, but he certainly fires educated and sharp and usually accurate punches. I see him beginning to outbox Vasquez from about the 3rd round, 4th round maybe. The question is, will he stop Vasquez? I'm not convinced he will, for the reason I just gave. I think he might be a little bit subdued emotionally, and he might be quite content to just sort of pop and contain Vasquez and then just show off his skills and run out a wide points winner. It is possible he stops him, perfectly possible. If I've had to pick a stoppage, I'd say last third of the fight, so rounds 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't see him just blowing Vasquez away. But yeah, I only see one winner, and that's Cordina. If he's on it, and okay, I just said that perhaps he's not going to be firing on all cylinders, but I'm sure he'll come in shape. He's got fights to look forward to, potential fights. There's been a lot of talk about Lee Wood fighting him, moving up to super feather, and that's probably where the money is. And they're both matchroom fighters, so that's probably going to be where they're going to go. But I think Cordina against Navarrete would be a great fight. Hector Luis Garcia would be a good fight, and also O'Shaquie Foster, who had that, smash up with Rocky Hernandez at the weekend. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen, you've got to go see that fight, especially the 11th round, which is the round of the year. Don't get me wrong, trust me. Go and see it. It's on DAZN. Great fight. And great round. One of the great rounds. So I think Cordina, I would rather see him against an O'Shaquie Foster or a Navarrete. I think would be a good tear up. But they'll probably put him in, if he gets through this, and I think he will, they'll probably put him in with Lee Wood. But yeah, I'm going to go for a wide points decision for Joe Cordina over EDWARD VAZQUEZ, with a little asterisk saying possible late stoppage. But I'm going to stick with the points. Anyway, what do you think? What about you Welsh boxing fans? You got an opinion? Comments below. And yeah, like I always say, I'll look forward to reading your comments. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the like button if you don't mind. That helps us out and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's get the subscribers and views up. You know it makes sense. Anyway, thanks for your time. Speak to you soon, and bye for now.